Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. And today, of course, we have to get into it. Why do we hate alignment? And yet, it's given us one of the most beloved tabletop role playing settings that is bizarre, gonzo, the physical manifestation of, philosophical thought, Planescape. So we're going to talk about. Of course, we're going to have to list so many of the reasons why we hate alignment. Of course, I have an armchair list of those things, and we are then going to go into, well, if we hate alignment so much, why do people love Planescape? Like, why did this great thing come out of such a hated and despised element of tabletop role playing? But of course, put your feet up, get your drink and snacks. Let's prepare. Let's get into it. Well, of course, we have to. Let's get on the same page here. So, what is alignment in the first place? So let's share an image here, and here we have. Let's see, we get this a little larger here. Here we have a chart, and this is a classic chart, not taken from the very beginning origins of Dungeons and Dragons, but it has advanced to this point. And this chart normally began with lawful, neutral, and chaotic, and that was it. And then it had to expand it into a 9-point chart with with itself having a lawful side to the very left and a chaotic side to the very right as we move. But then, in addition to that, with this 9-point chart, we have, according to this image above, we have the good side, and then we flow into the bottom, which is the evil side. And these are our 9, which have become our 9 classic Dungeons and Dragons fantasy alignment sections. And of course, it's lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good, lawful neutral, true neutral, chaotic neutral, lawful evil, neutral evil, and chaotic evil. But for some reason, just this itself has become so hated. Now, the reason I believe this is, of course, a slight dissertation on my part. One of the reasons is that if you take a look at this chart, you can see that there are it looks very specific. You are either lawful good or you're not. You're either true neutral or neutral evil or chaotic neutral or you're not. But really, alignment was more of a, let's see, a Venn diagram. Now, here we have an example of what a Venn diagram really is. A Venn diagram uses overlapping circles or other shapes to illustrate the logical relationships between two or more sets of items. Often they serve to graphically organize things, highlighting how the items are similar and different. An alignment was intended and actually described as a Venn diagram with overlapping edges. We never looked at it that way. And that we're going to go into like why we felt that that was the case. So here we have my little chart of like, why do we hate alignment? And the first one that we come to, and yes, I'll get to your comments in a minute. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. So the first one that, in my humble opinion, is that it's flat and passive. So we get into alignment and it has like lawful good, neutral evil, but it doesn't do anything. It just sits there, and it doesn't give us a despite the fact that the rules suggests that it is like more of an overlap. There's a little bit of fluidity that many of us just think of it as flat and cardboard and doesn't do anything. It doesn't motivate us. It doesn't give us a goal. It's like a added on feature. So then we get into our second reason why I think we in the tabletop community hate alignment, and that people hate categories. All as human beings, despite the fact otherwise, we hate being categorized, put into silos, separated, organized, and moved in, being told who we are, what we are, and how we are perceived, and how we act, and our behaviors, despite the fact that as a large community, all human beings tend to behave in an aggregate, in a very large setting, depending on their culture and their age and demographic and whatnot. Yes, human beings do fall into categories, but when all of us that role play, want to express ourselves in our individualistic nature, I got it out. Wow. Telling all of those same individuals in a game where you're supposed to portray yourself in your most idealistic or dreamlike state, and then go, yeah, but you're kind of in a particular category, which always bothered me. That players would say, I hate alignment because it makes me, because we're going to get into the straitjacketing part, but where alignment's like a straitjacket, I can't believe that it's going to make me have to behave in a certain way. And I always thought, like, well, why would you pick an alignment you didn't like? That's weird. All right, so the third reason why people hate it, why we hate alignment, is it's all stick, no carrot. So in the very origins of alignment, that you would get punished if you did not act in accordance with your alignment. And so there was a stick, stick getting hit in the head with a stick versus the carrot being given a treat. And so there were plenty of penalties for not acting along your alignment, but there were very few upsides. Now, mind you, there were upsides. For example, becoming a paladin gave you greater abilities back in like advanced Dungeons and Dragons, 2nd edition, and made you basically better than everybody else just by virtue of randomly creating your character, rolling 3d6 down the line, but you were required to get all these goodies to maintain your lawful good alignment. But unfortunately, in the game, there were no upsides really to acting within your alignment. It was like, no, you were supposed to act your alignment, and if you changed, you might not have the character class features of your character. Hey, if you and Paladin wasn't the only, although it was the most restrictive, Paladin wasn't the only alignment-centered class. Druids had to be neutral. Monks couldn't be chaotic. There were, heck, even I believe at the time they were called thieves, not rogues, I believe couldn't be lawful and such, and you lost your abilities. Clerics really got slammed with not abiding by their alignment as well. Another reason why people hate alignment was the 45+ minute lectures. Now, I don't mean lectures by professionals. I mean lectures by the other players at your table, one or many of them who were armchair socio-philosophers who, read a couple of things and watched a couple of TED Talks, and now attempted to derail whatever activity you thought you were having to get in a discussion about alignment. And too many actuallys would pop up in these conversations while the rest of us sat around twiddling our thumbs, knowing that if we told them to stop, these armchair arguments about alignment across the table at each other, that it would just reset the clock of the lecture back to the minute number 1. Oh, fuck. Are we doing this? Are we really doing this? Another reason why we always hated alignment is the straitjacket. I'm going to get to your comments just a minute. Just allow me to present to you this situation. It's the straitjacketing. It's the, if I have to portray this alignment, I cannot do or act in any manner outside of it, including getting a sandwich or tying my shoelaces, because everyone else at our gaming tables would police each other in their alignments. And despite the most innocuous behaviors, at least one other player would point at another one at the table and go, well, you wouldn't do that because you're not acting in your alignment. Or it was, I need to put this in here. It was a whole, there we go. A whole permission. For some reason, and you can't, there's no way to design a game to get around this. If you have assholes in your gaming group, they would use alignment to want to act in a manner in which was not, shall I say, conducive to social cohesion. It was that's what my character would do, and by writ of the rules, those individuals would then open up the book and go, well, here it says, therefore it gives all permission for me to act in whatever manner it is. Lawful, stupid, chaotic, crazy, whatever the case may be, right? And so many of the wildest, craziest, disruptive behaviors you could think of, like the person who wants to play true neutral and fights on the bad guy's side because they have to equalize, how many adversaries versus allies there are, and things like that. The chaotic neutral character that just is like, well, I want the alignment that allows me to do whatever I want, and then they basically go around going with no reasoning, going around and doing things because, well, chaotic neutral would just do whatever they want, right? As if they had no internal logic. But we get to our last two, what I consider reasons why we hate alignment, and that is I have internal, external. What was alignment? Was it a political position? Was it are we aligned with the deities? Is it personality? Is it behavior? What is it supposed to be? Internal logic or an external worldview? Is it societal? What is alignment supposed to be? Now, mind you, depending on the edition that you're playing, it did have explanations for what alignment was, but did we bother reading those things? Not really. We normally went back to many of these other disruptive reasonings for why we hated alignment. 45-minute lectures, all stick, no carrot, people hating their categories and things like that. So many times alignment was felt like it was undefined in a way that gets to our last reason why I think alignment has become so hated. It's because it has a fuzzy application with specific outcomes. So we're having a thing that is not well defined, but we are supposed to also expect it to have very specific outcomes on the end of it. Meaning we have spell abilities that are specific towards specific alignments. We have magic items that used to be in the game that were specific for your alignment, whether you were able to handle them or not, whether it would permanently alter your character. There were even cursed items that would change the alignment of your character, which would therefore have a mechanical effect on your character sheet. And there were no saving throws. There was no way to resist it. You just became this new alignment thank you, bye-bye, enjoy yourself, right? And so whether you were a character class like a paladin that would have a specific loss of your abilities if you changed your alignment, there were some losses that could not be recovered even if you could get back to your alignment. And then how would you do such a thing? The rules for both changing your alignment and getting back to your alignment were so ephemeral and wishy-washy, but they had specific outcomes, and that became the thing that we hated. But I say that, and I will get to your comments here. I say all that to say why we love alignment. Planescape. I'm done. All right, let's get to your comments here. Oh man, sorry. I know you guys are having a talk. Here we go. Nameless Spook says, I think the appeal is for newer players who might want a little help for building a character idea and how to play them. When you're older, you learn morality is a lie. You learn morality is a lie and embrace the chaos of reality. Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. Let me put the chat. Oh, come on, chat. There we go. All right. Actually, I'll stop sharing for just a minute. So, Mateo says, more interesting characters are those who are complex and change over time. Alignment might be good for creating NPCs. Now, that I do agree. I think assigning alignment to an NPC, assigning thank you very much there. Assigning alignment to like a nation state to give you a prompt as a game master, dungeon master or something, I think it's good. I've wasted many hours trolling alignment supporters. Yeah. Yeah. Shai says, sweet, almost forgot, but then I remembered, and it's Planescape. Yeah, it's Planescape, right? Are there more things that alignment was good at? I'd have a hard time arguing the act of keeping alignment around and how it's used. And I think there are many other game systems that have had a better functionality for things like that. But yeah. All my college group could agree that it was Benjamin Sisko was a perfect example of lawful good, and I'll stick to that one. Yeah, I mean, come on now. We've got like memeable, memeified, what is it, the memeified images of like the Joker is chaotic evil or chaotic neutral, and so Batman is so all those arguments. Yeah. Chaotic neutral. Could you play a guy who's chaotic neutral as an ideological philosophy? What would you make it like? A simple anarchist or something about creation and the system of nature? We're going to get into that because I'm going to end this with we're going to go into the factions of Planescape and how they relate to alignment and why it is that Planescape is such a great thing. 4chan troll, yeah. A 4chan troll, yeah. 4chan, yeah. Also, why are alignment changes considered bad? Couldn't it be good? Like a lawful good fascist sees the light and becomes chaotic good freedom fighter? See, I always thought of it that way. But in the original, if you want to go rules as written, there were character classes that if you changed your alignment, you just lost your stuff. Like you couldn't be that character class any longer. I was like, wait, what? Well, then what do you do, right? And I think having an alignment change is a good thing for storytelling. I don't think you should be punished for it. Alt-right libertarians and objectivists in D&D, what plane would they go to? Let's find out. Let's go into some of these. Where's our factions? So let's gonna call these up. Sure, I'll share these out. You guys are silly. So here we have this is Wikipedia, and there are many places you can go. There are other wikis you can go to find the factions of Planescape. So for those who are not familiar, matter of fact, you know what? I better put this in here. Let's see. Planescape map. Map of the planes. Let's see if I can find a good image here, and see if we can get on the same page as to a map of the planes. Is this better? Let's see. No. Image. The Outlands. Let's see if we can visit there. Sorry. I'll share this instead. So here we have the map of the planes, and this location is known as the Outlands. So in the very center of this map in Planescape is what used to be called concordant opposition. It was the plane of true neutral. Now, in Planescape, unlike what we think of in traveling to different worlds and different dimensions, you could physically travel from one plane of existence to another. And according to this interactive map, you could highlight a number of the locations, and these planes corresponded to alignments. So if your character died in Dungeons and Dragons, you would, if you were mortal and a character as well, whatever alignment you would go to a world that was assigned to your alignment, or vice versa. You would be assigned a world that you would go to. And Planescape was the physical embodiment of the alignment system. All right, so here we have, and it looks like a disc, kind of, because you could travel this spire in the middle. By the way, this giant spire, at the top of this infinite spire is a circular city, and like walking on the inside of a tire, that's where Sigil exists, and Sigil has represents all of the alignments, and you can walk from neighborhood to neighborhood that represented all of the alignments. Now, as we go down into these Outlands, as the closer you get to the outer portion of the Outlands, the greater chance you have of falling into the alignment worlds. So at the very bottom of this map, we have places like Beator and Gehenna and the Grey Wastes and Carceri or Sorceri or Sarkari, whatever, however you want to pronounce that, the Abyss, Pandemonium. And again, each of these were assigned like lawful evil, neutral evil, chaotic evil. But then you go, well, why are there more of these? So there were actually worlds in between the two alignments. So between lawful neutral between, say, lawful evil and neutral evil, there was another alignment, and it was a world attached to it. Whew, got that out. All right. So that being said, there were people who were aligned. There were people who were aligned to those places. Discworld, I don't know. Maybe. I think, I don't know how old Discworld is. I think the Planescape and the Planes of Existence, I think, was far more inspired by, at the time, from the 70s and 80s, the Venn diagram of personality charts. To be honest with you, that's my personal opinion. I don't have any evidence of that. But during the 70s and 80s, there were a lot of like self-help books and self-analysis books and looking at the inner mind. And I believe alignment kind of fell into that, was inspired by these charts to understand, am I more of an internalist or an external person, and blah, 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 things like that. I've never done anything like that. And you're getting deep in the weeds there from the Shy Squad. For those who don't know, the Planes of Existence were not stable. So the more people that aligned with that alignment would cause the plane to expand and absorb territory, I guess would be the best way to describe it. And if you were on a border town that either lost or gained petitioners, basically people who died or came from other worlds and were associated with that alignment, it would make that plane of existence grow or shrink. And many of the gods would grow and shrink in power because of the same thing. So here we have, I hope you can read this because it's difficult even for me to see what this says. Here we have on Wikipedia the different. I can't even move it around. Here we have the different factions, and the factions correspond not just to the alignment of Dungeons and Dragons, but to a philosophical concept. So very quickly, here we go. The Aethar, also known as the Defilers or the Lost, they deny not only the gods' right to pass judgment over mortals, but their very divinity. They claim that the gods, whom they call powers, are powerful but have limits and do not deserve worship. Instead, Aethar priests channel divine power for what they call the great unknown, or what they believe to be the true divine force behind everything. The Aethar are broadly derived from real-world atheists, agnostics, and deists, or deists. There's also the believers of the source, known as the Godsmen. They believe that each life is a test, and that every person has the potential to become a god. Their headquarters is the Great Foundry, symbolizing their belief that the multiverse constantly forges and refines all beings. And it shares many parallels with Hindu, Buddhism, most sects of Mormonism. However, the ultimate goal is not nirvana, but apotheosis. We also have the Bleak Cabal, also known as the Bleakers or the Madmen, deny that any belief system has any merit. As they see it, the universe has physical rules, but no metaphysical or philosophical ones. Therefore, any meaning in life must come from within. They are derived from real-world existentialists and the philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche. We also have the Doom Guard, or also known as the Sinkers, and believe in the sanctity and inevitability of entropy, particularly the inevitable destruction of all things. The core of their belief is that everything ends. Their headquarters in Sigil is the armory, where they forge weapons as tools of destruction. They're nihilistic. There's the Dustmen, also known as the Dead. They believe that the life people live in now is a false state of existence, that there is a state of true death, which can only be accomplished by denying one's emotions, physical wants and needs. Let's see. Their philosophy is closely related to that of Arthur Schopenhauer, along with some shared similarities in Buddhism, Stoicism, and Akasmism. I'm not familiar with that one. There's also the faction. Now, mind you, these factions, if you've ever heard of like faction wars, players many times either would belong to one or more of these factions, or the players didn't belong to any factions and needed to navigate within the city of Sigil and the factions therein to acquire information, allies, to get factions out of their way, making enemies of factions if you befriend one faction, you sometimes automatically become the enemy of another faction, etc. There's the Fated, also known as the Takers or the Heartless, and believe that those with power and ability have the right to own what they control and to take what they can from those who are unable to keep it, and that is their right to exploit any situation to their advantage, regardless of how it affects anyone else. They are derived from real-world social Darwinists and the philosophies of Max Stimer and Ayn Rand. The Fraternity of Order. They're called the Governors. Believe that knowledge is power. They learn and exploit both the natural laws of the universe and the laws of society. And they recall the sophists of classic Athens. There's also the Free League, and there's many. I think there's 12 factions, and then there's a bunch of like minor ones. The 12 major factions. So we have the Free League, also known as the Indepts. They reject the other factions and their bureaucratic, hierarchical dogmatism, and do not consider themselves a faction at all. For this reason, they don't have a factal. A factal is like a head of the faction, or an official headquarters. They believe in individual freedom as the highest good. I apologize for having my lazy tongue. I apologize. There's a Harmonium, or the Hardheads. They believe that peace and stability can only be established under one rule: theirs. The planar faction, known as the Harmonium, is actually just a small part of a much larger political entity. They are related to present-day authoritarianism. They take offense to the term hardhead. Of course, it's like, yeah, peace and tranquility, as long as you pay attention to us and only us. And mind you, as I'm reading these, you'll notice that there's no specific alignment attached to them, but you kind of get the idea, like in your head, like, I wonder what alignment they would be, and you go, oh, I see who they kind of seem like. And that was kind of the beauty of Planescape, in which you could play Planescape that was created from the 9-point alignment system and never mention your alignment at all. Now, yes, of course, shorthand, you could go, oh, well, that's technically the plane of neutral good, or that's technically the plane of lawful evil, but you never had to do that. It was just, it was the physical, fantastical embodiment of what alignment is, and that's why we loved Planescape. The Mercy Killers, or known as the Red Death, believe in justice and retribution at the expense of all else. Their name does not come from killing out of mercy, but rather killing mercy. Their credo that mercy is for the weak and the merciful should be punished. And their headquarters is Sigil's prison, where they carry out the sentences of convicted criminals. There's Revolutionary League, or the anarchists, who believe that social order and man-made laws are inherently corrupt and must be destroyed, though none of their members can agree on what, if anything, should replace them, which tends to be my argument against people who want to tear down the system. I'm like, cool, what are you going to replace it with? And stuff. There's the Sign of One, or the Signers. They believe that everyone in a sense is the center of their own reality, and that reality can be reshaped by the power of imagination, which is wild. Because that means if every individual is shaping reality from their own imagination, then why are you in my imagination? Some of them are solipsists, though most are not so extreme. There's the Society of Sensation. We're almost at the end here. Society of Sensation. Sensates believe that accumulating experiential knowledge through the senses is the only way to achieve enlightenment. They are reminiscent of ancient Epicureanism, if not hedonism, as well as more modern empiricism, like, I guess, from imperial information, like the things you see and feel and hear from your own experiences. And the last two, the Transcendent Order, known as the Cipher. The Cipher believe that by tapping into the cadence of the planes and acting through pure instinct, they can achieve the higher state of being. Their philosophy could be considered similar to Taoism and Zen Buddhism. And then there are the chaosistics, known as the Chaosmen, who believe that the only truth is revealed in chaos. The Chaosistics, I'm butchering pronunciation, have been quite accurately described as being totally off their rockers, every one of them, compared with real life Discordianism. So yeah, and mind you, all of these factions. Now, of course, you don't have to include every single faction if you were to even use them in your games for man, my brain just went for Planescape. But these were many factions that you could use to chaos etics. Acosism, Like there's no cosmos? I don't know. I've never heard that reality. Mateo says, I didn't realize how much was rooted in philosophy. Yes, the very greatest thing that came out of Planescape was that it was literally built with philosophy in mind. And mind you, the creators of Planescape, matter of fact, let me, if you don't mind, let me look that up. The creators of Planescape. If I'm not mistaken, here we go. AI overview. The Planescape campaign setting for Dungeons & Dragons was designed by David Zeb Cook and published by TSR in 1994. A more detailed look at the creation of Planescape, David Zeb Cook, conceptual art by Dana Knudsen and Tony De Terzaresi, who has De Terlezi, who has a specific sketching art that really, it was a lot of art that was done by this artist, and it really embraced it. Really embraced what Planescape was about, and it was very much dipped into philosophy and whatnot. Manual of the Planes by Jeff Grubb. Trying to figure out who else. See who else was part of this. I want to say Robin. Is it Robin Wall? Zeb Cook. Looking for some other names here. I'm on Wikipedia, so it may or may not have everyone there. Individuals that contributed to it: Wolfgang Bauer, Lester W. Smith, Colin McComb, Dale Donovan. Yeah, back in the 90s, early mid 90s, I'm sorry. Yep. Sorry. Let's find that out. Thank you, says DBJ. Good call about that Venn diagram personality thing. The original plane alignment thing in AD&D First Edition looked a lot like one of those. Also, the adjectives they used, like, for example, categood equaling beatific, etc. Yes, for those who don't know, that along with the 9-point, the classic, what I guess we could call like classic 9-point alignment, there were words and phrases associated with them, and like individualism or beauty or freedom or tradition and things like that. Here we go. Looking at some of your comments here. Yeah, indeed it is. Planescape, all religions are real, as are all our non-religious ideologies. There are atheists, hippies, anarchists too. Yeah, all spread out through Planescape. And the idea, let me put the outlines back up here. I'm going to share this, the map again, and the see if you guys can see this. So on this map, you could physically travel to these places. And the idea was that you would go on adventures and missions. And it wasn't the idea that you would, for example, the entire game took place in the plane of lawful neutral. No. You would go to those places on either individually, like, hey, let's go there because we want to. But more often you were sent on a mission by your faction or to solve a situation, and you would go there, and by going to those places, you would, when I say physically interact, what I mean by it is you would talk and act and travel and escape from and climb over and spell cast in a world that was the embodiment of that alignment. So let's go to Mount Celestia. And if we click Mount Celestia on this map, here it says, a few primes call it the Seven Heavens, but as usual, they're off the track because Mount Celestia actually aligns with lawful good. The tag is descriptive, but it's still wrong. For some cutters, this is the best of all worlds. Now, mind you, this is the language that is spoken in this outer world. So when I say this and when I read this, you're like, why the slang? And it's taken from the point of view of someone who lives in this wild, crazy world and is explaining the world to you. So the tag is descriptive, but it's still wrong. For some cutters, this is the best of all worlds. Law and goodness tempered by understanding and mercy. For other Burks, it's worse than the abyss. It's Mount Celestia, or the 7 mountains of goodness and law. Mount Celestia is a plain bathed in the golden radiance of justice and mercy, where everything is the ideal model of prime material things. And if I'm not mistaken, Mount Celestia is an eternal mountain that you must climb, and it has 7 levels. So the mountain reaches up into the clouds, and you have to climb the mountain into the clouds. And when you pass through one level of clouds, if you are of a specific like grace or peace or law or tradition or perseverance, you can go through the cloud level to get to the next level. And it's harder and harder to scale that mountain. And there are people who spend their entire lifetimes trying to climb that mountain. And each of these planes has a specific like physical feature. Like, is it all fire? Is it like there's one of the lower planes that's literally tilted at an angle and it's all uphill. There are it's not the Beastlands. There's another Bitopia is literally 2 worlds, one world and another world that's on top of each other, and it's an infinite plane, 2 infinite planes looking up at each other. So if you look up in the sky, you'll see the other level of Bitopia. Now here's a place where a basher can feel safe and not be bothered by the petitioners at the same time, because Bitopia, called the Twin Paradises by primes who don't know any better, is a place where a being's left to himself until there's a good need. That means folks here help each other when they need assistance and leave each other alone when they don't. All in all, it's a pretty sociable place. Yeah, so and listen, not all the places are how do I say, interesting. Not all of them are interesting. And yes, you technically, like I said, you can travel physically to each of these places like a map, but at the same time, they're actually infinite as well, which is a weird thing. So, and lastly, on this map, there's like these red tags. The red tags are literally the outer planes, the very outer edges. The black tags are border cities, and the border cities are like related to that alignment, but also have an aspect of them that is not related to that alignment, that keeps it from being absorbed into or flowing out of that alignment city. So let me see if I can find one. Let's go to Cursed. Bleak and dusty. Cursed, little more than a collection of shanties perched on the edge of Kasari. I'm not sure if that's how it's pronounced, but it doesn't matter. Where those exiled from elsewhere on the Outlands dream out their bitter lives. Where's another city? Excelsior. Let's go to Fortitude. Gate Town, New Arcadia. Fortitude might seem nice to cutters at first, but once you get to know the people that call it home, you'll realize how wrong you were. The Hardheads have an outpost set up in this burg with magical means of detecting alignment. They will throughout anyone that doesn't meet the standard. And there's other things like that. Ribcage is another city. What the hell just happened? Oh, it was some artwork. Ribcage. Upward mobility, climb the ladder through the ranks, but don't break the rules unless you won't get caught, or better yet, fix the blame on someone else. That's the way the world really turns. But in this burg, just outside Beator, there's no illusion that life is any other way. And so, yeah, when I say physical, I'm talking like this is a world where it's not just kind of randomly the people believe in this alignment. No, they really are like that way. They really are that way. And can I click? There we go. And here's Sigil. Uh, I know for a very short time, for some reason, the staff at Wizards of the Coast were calling it Sigil. And even the creator was just like, where the hell did that come from? So it's already been disproven. It's called Sigil. Uh, like an actual, the physical idea of a sigil. Sigil, also known as the City of Doors and the Cage, is a ring-shaped city that hovers presumably above the infinite spire in the center of the Outlands. It is ruled over by the Lady of Pain, a frighteningly powerful and mysterious figure capable of controlling the city's portals and preventing deities from entering the city. The city is said to be the fulcrum point for all of the planes, and as a result, whoever can control the city controls the multiverse. This is why the city, up until recently, has been run by competing factions. Each faction believed that if it controlled Sigil, the center of all, it would be able to control everything there is. As a result, the Lady of Pain kept the factions and many other power brokers in the city in balance. And there is there's an image of, let's see if we can find this here. Lady of Pain. Let's go find an image here of the Lady of Pain. I'm sure many of you have seen these images. Here we go. She kind of wears a crest, crown or crest of blades, and she basically never speaks. She only uses her minions to speak through her, and the Lady of Pain has the power to keep every deity out of the city of Sigil, and that's where the factions take place. Yeah, Shai says the Cant, Chaos Speak, the Gentleman Gamer was fluent in that stuff before he went to the dark side. Yeah, I think he just wasn't there just a Kickstarter called The Cursed? Basically a redux, a redo of the World of Darkness done in a collective manner. I can't remember. Yeah, trying not to bow and genuflect when the Lady of Pain floats by. A major challenge for the clueless. Yeah, she literally has a policy of not being worshipped. And some people, by accident, believe that they need to honor her and, like you said, genuflect and bow down to her. You don't want to do that because she has the literal power. Let's just put it this way. She is a character that has no character stats because she can do anything she wants. Can she kick you out of Sigil? Yes. Can she lock off all the doors to prevent you from traveling to the other planes? Yes. Can she put you in a maze of eternal befuddlement? Yes. The Lady of Pain is the ultimate MacGuffin, and she is a MacGuffin and a Deus Ex Machina all wrapped up in one. The ultimate version of that. And also basically the ability to even allow Planescape, the setting, to even exist in the first place, especially the City of Sigil. And so you need an entity like that. So yeah, the Lady of Pain. So we hate alignment. Yes, I agree with everybody else. Like, we can get rid of alignment. But I will say that the best thing to come out of alignment is Planescape, and there's no shortage of fans of Planescape. Go to your YouTubes, go to your wikis, go to your search things, and go, oh, introduction to Planescape, and then just go down the rabbit hole, because that's exactly what it is. It is a philosopher's, dare I say, wet dream of fantastical introspection and analogy and adventure. And if you think you can make it to the top of a Mount Celestia in the lawful good realm, or travel down into the abyss, or rescue petitioners that have been erroneously, placed into the third level of hell, or something like that, that's Planescape. And Planescape is an amazing, amazing setting. And dare I say, Planescape is a little bit problematic in this regard. First of all, if you want to buy Planescape, you absolutely positively can. As a matter of fact, I think I have about 8 or 9 Planescape books on my computer. But it is also the setting where, matter of fact, I'm not going to say it. I'm going to let you discuss it. Here we go. It is also the setting where all religions are real and all non-religious ideologies are real. It's a place where every form of political, social, religious, cultural belief and expression exists next to every other one. So if you're someone who is deterministic, right? If you're someone who's like, oh no, I can't play a game where a person who believes the opposite of me should exist, yeah, then Planescape's not for you. It's like in our own world, right? The red side, the blue side, the liberal side, the conservative side. If you cannot stomach operating in a world where all those ideologies exist and both the dystopian and utopian viewpoint of every side exists, then Planescape is not for you. So yeah, she's obviously meant people from breaking the game. Yeah, exactly. So obviously she has to die so the Blood Wars can finally come to the City of Doors. Yeah. And how the hell did that happen? Where did she go? Who is she? The Lady of Pain, right? So yeah, she's obviously meant for people to stop from like breaking the game, from taking the game and ruining it, because available to player characters is the entire multiverse. And they could go out in the multiverse and find the very thing that could break the game. And so she exists in a way to be like, no, I'm not going to tell you what to do. No, you don't follow me, but I'm going to prevent these other powers from instantly taking over. And so instead of, say, for example, Asmodeus or Asmodeus from the 9 hells coming into Sigil and taking over, that those evil beings and good beings, the angels from the celestial realms and things like that, they can't come into Sigil and just take over. They have to use proxies, and that's where the factions come in. They can use a proxy, which is a player character. So very low-level characters are necessary to go into the center of all things, Concordant Opposition, Sigil, and the Infinite Spire, and parlay, convince, take over, create heists, and Cold War, and things like that, to have one faction try to take over the other one. So yeah. It's also, let me go back to this. No, we're not going there. It is also, come on, go backwards. It's also the location of, my brain just farted. It's all, oh, here we go, the lower planes. Yes, the Blood War. For those who are not familiar, it's also the homeland of the Blood War. So what is the Blood War? I know I'm going into a lot of detail here. All right, this is a huge overview. The Blood War is the war amongst all of the evil, the lawful evil, neutral evil, chaotic evil, all the fiends, all the devils, the demons, the slotty, all the evil outer world creatures are in something known as the Blood War. That Blood War is perpetuated by powers from neutrality and powers of good, in many ways, to keep the Blood War going. Because if the evil beings from the evil lower planes ever got together, they would have, there's far more people, demons, fiends, petitioners, souls, that are going into the evil planes than the good planes. It's very difficult to be goodly and lawful, right? So many people fall into their baser instincts. So it's an overload of like 100 to 1, basically. For every celestial being, there's like 100 plus souls out down here being ripped apart and refigured and recontextualized into evil, fiendish creatures. And if they ever got organized, they would just dominate. So what happens? There are forces that are keeping the blood war going. Lawful evil servants going against the neutral evil, which are attacking these chaotic evil. And that blood war is also spilling over into the other planes. Like, how good can you be in the upper planes if you're someone who tolerates the existence of the evil lower planes? And so that's where a lot of the philosophical conflict comes in, and then you role play those philosophical attitudes. Can I get even closer? Oh, it doesn't let me. Let's see if I can get close, because there's some names like the river Styx and mountain ranges and things like that exist here as you physically travel down the Infinite Spire and out into the Outlands, if you wanted to run a game where you're traveling from place to place. And as you get closer to those planes of existence, the rules of reality change. So it's not like, oh, it's a mountain, oh, it's a stream, oh, it's a forest. No. Gravity changes, space changes, time changes. Some of these planes of existence, like one of the most common ones and most notable ones is Mechanus. And Mechanus is the ultimate lawful good plane. And damn it, kitties. And sorry, cats are having a time of their life. Mechanus is an entire plane of existence that is nothing but gears, and people live on the interlocking gears that turn eternally. And that's where the what are they called? Oh, you guys know what they're called. The Slotty aren't evil. I know. I know. They're chaotic. Do they live in or near the chaotic neutral realm? I can't remember. Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, isn't it funny that let me get this down. Stop sharing. We'll get out of here. Isn't it funny how Planescape appeared while the Satanic Panic was slowly winding down? It would have been better if the fundies read it and went up in apoplectic arms, making it the Planescape Panic. That's actually very true, because Planescape, the only reason it existed is because the Satanic Panic did calm down. And wild that once it calmed down, it's like, yeah, you're walking through a city with angels and demons, sitting in a tavern sharing a drink and whatnot. Yeah, it's kind of wild. It's, to be in a world that is the physical embodiment of philosophy. Yeah, the Modrons, Mechanus, home of the Modrons, an excuse to draw a bunch of geometric shapes to help fill up Monster Manual 2. Maybe I'm different. I never particularly felt the Modrons were that interesting. I mean, there's a whole adventure called the March of the Modrons or something, where over a specified period of time, they leave Mechanus and their mission is to put the different realms back together again and set the universal planescape back into its order, and it went out of order, and that whole big thing. Yeah, I never felt the Modrons were interesting. Just basically geometric dice. I have 5 shapes. I'm a 12 shaper, with arms and legs. They just look bizarre. But whatever. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for letting me rant a little bit about why we hate alignment. Yet, if we got rid of alignment too soon, we would never have Planescape. And also, there's this weird thing where Planescape really only exists because of alignment. If you get rid of alignment, then you lose what Planescape is, which means that now that Planescape still exists, how do you explain it to new players? Because new players are like, I have no idea what alignment is. I agree with you there, Spook. Yeah, Spook says, I found the Modrons useful for reskinning into other monsters in 5e. Yeah, oh yeah. March of the Modrons and Dead Gods are cool as fuck. But the original Modrons were, the original Modrons were an obvious case of running out of ideas before Monster Manual 2 had reached the requisite page count. I agree. Monster Manual 2, Fiend Folio back in the day, did they pad out the page count with some pretty ridiculous monsters that were just like, it's a reskin of something else? Oh shit, yeah. Planescape, where your opinions actually matter. And this is, please, everybody who's here, that is literally what Planescape is about. Meaning, like, where your opinions physically can change the shape of the world, and where your opinion really does matter. Where you stand matters. Including players who don't pick a side. That's picking a side. And where does that fit into this interdimensional balance of good and evil, law and chaos? And where does that fit? You know, if you're a person who's like, I hate evil, they shouldn't exist, what does that make? You know, you want to commit genocide against the evil, what does that make you? And so, very much so. By the way, I appreciate, listen, we're at double digits here. We've got like 15 people here, 3 people over here on Twitch, and 12 here on YouTube. I really appreciate it, guys. And thanks for finding it. Yes, are some of the thumbnails a little clickbaity? Slightly, but we're actually talking about the actual technically it's not clickbait if we're actually talking about the subject matter, but you get the point, right? So guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for allowing me to give my little dissertation up front. I hope you learned something or been like, maybe I would take a look at it. And maybe you have reasons of like why you hate alignment as well. I'm pretty sure that many of us do. I didn't list the bajillion other games that do alignment systems better. Maybe we might go into that, but no, tomorrow we've got at least 2 more days of things that we hate about Dungeons and Dragons and why we love it at the same time. You can guess what those things are. So we talked about alignment, talked about hit points. Okay. What else did we talk about? Hell, we talked about the D20. There's got to be something else in fantasy D20 that Dungeons and Dragons. Drew's like, I learned nothing except for the fact that that you belong there. You belong there too. You belong in the outer realms as well. Although you'd probably make your own world. You are so deep in your own philosophical, personal. I don't know what you call. Damn, what's another way? Ethical and moral island that you'd probably be your own world there, Drew, which is cool. Like, that would be amazing to have players be like, yeah, we're going to make another realm of existence that has no relationship to the alignment chart. And it's like, yeah, you could do that. Why the hell not? Oh, man. I agree. I do agree, personally. Because I don't think alignment is the problem, just that everyone understands something different about what is good or evil. And that's where we get into the 45-minute lectures and all that bullshit. Yeah, so the question of alignment is a question of morality, which means that it becomes an eternal question without an answer. Yep. Hard sci-fi transhumanist exploration in D&D. That's exactly what it is. So guys, I got to get out of here. I actually have a doctor's appointment. Usual thing. I'm a man of a certain age. Got to get those fingers put up in the anyway. Sorry. No. Actually, that's not it. I am a diabetic. And so got to get the checkups, got to get the sugars and cholesterols and all that kind of stuff. So guys, got to get out of here. You guys have a great day. I will see you tomorrow, hopefully. And all of you that are here but not part of like haven't said anything or participated or something, drop a line or leave a comment or something like that. Maybe we can talk about other things that you might want to talk about as well. Yeah. Just nothing wrong. Says, nah, I leave the cycle of samsara and go to nirvana. Hey, there is a nirvana in Planescape. The old, sorry, last thing, the old Planescape before it became the Planescape that you know now, the old alignment chart related to other worlds, and they were literally taken from world philosophies and religions like nirvana and ascendance and heaven was literally a place you could go. It was actually called heaven, and another place was called nirvana, and another place was called, like, all of these places that you could go to in philosophy. And yeah, the old mechanics was called nirvana. Yep, sure was. Sure was. Later, it became its own fantastical setting that you could explore in a physical manner. But before that, it was actually called, they had names. So different alignments were named different things. Like heaven was separate from nirvana, which was separate from the other real world religions and philosophies and such. Limbo existed, just as other places existed too. Yeah, sure was. Yep, it was called the Nine Hells. I still call it the Nine Hells. I don't call it Bad Tour, but yeah, they changed the name and called it the Nine Hells, things like that. Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. It was a way for, remember, these are game creators, right? And it's like, I read a book about this thing and they put it in the game. So blame them. Blame Gax and Guy Gax and the rest of the crew, right? So guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace and tranquility. Bye. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they did. They sure did. When Planescape was created, they dropped all that stuff. Yep. Yeah, they dropped it all and then made it its own thing. Now it is flavored by world religions and world cultures, but it became its own thing, and it's kind of cool. That's why Planescape is so difficult to describe, because it has its origins in alignment. Bye.